And welcome into the Ryan Odom UMBC Basketball Report. I'm your host, Gary Stein, along with UMBC head basketball coach Ryan Odom. First one of the new year. Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to you, Coach.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. And it is a new year, but it's the same basketball season that it was, the 1920 basketball season. And the non-conference portion of the season is over. You guys are 7-8, entering your opener coming up against UMass Lowell on Saturday. Just give us a little state of the Retrievers at this point after the non-conference portion of the year.
Yeah, I think the mood is good right now for our guys. They've come back from Christmas enthused and ready to attack, the conference season. And certainly we've had some bumps along the way that have been well documented, both from a loss standpoint and then also players kind of in and out of the lineup and injuries that we've had to kind of deal with. And, the guys have done a really good job of kind of compartmentalizing that and really focusing on the task at hand. And I feel like we've gotten better in the last 2 weeks.
And I think you guys are a very resilient bunch, as evidenced by a couple of the games which we'll talk about. But because of the injury situation, like when a fan comes to a UMBC basketball game and they see 7 or 8 guys dressing, they see the product of those injuries. But they may not understand that you have less guys to practice with. And there's a psychological effect on the players when they know that so many guys are missing. So my question to you is, what have you not been able to learn about your team, and what have you been able to learn about your team throughout this whole process?
Yeah, I think the first thing I've learned, and I knew this prior, but you never know until you kind of go through it, is that we do have a resilient bunch, and we have guys that are willing to step up when needed. When other guys are out. We've had guys that are willing to play maybe a little bit different role than maybe what was anticipated initially. And we've had guys that have been all about the team, quite honestly, which is really important. And it's tough because when you have multiple guys on the sideline during practice and then, somebody tweaks an ankle or what is kind of potentially just a normal injury that you see pretty much every day, you get elbow injury or something, you get elbowed in the eye or whatever in a practice, and then you see everybody's reaction. It's like, oh boy,
here we go again.
Here we go again.
Right.
And so you kind of have to, we have to train ourselves to really, we can only control what we can control. And we control our attitude, we control our effort, we can control our focus and our energy and enthusiasm that we bring every day. As coaches, we have to really try to do the best that we can to not overdo and have them beating on one another in practice. And so we've kind of backed off a little bit of that, because several of the guys have actually gotten hurt in practice and not in the games,
right.
Upon their return. And so that's been challenging for us. You see a guy getting ready to come back in there, and then all of a sudden he gets hurt again, and everybody feels for him naturally. And so that part of it's hard. And then the other part of it that's difficult is just, you want to have a full roster that you had initially at the beginning of the season. Everybody does. And you hate to see anybody have to have their year ended because of injury. We've had it, kind of 2 years in a row now. And, the guys, like I said, have done a good job of really just focusing on the task at hand.
So if you could just give us a thumbnail, because there are a bunch of guys that are out and that are still out, kind of what is the status of some of these guys as we enter conference play?
Yeah, Arkell's going to have to redshirt, at this point. I'm not sure if we've made a formal announcement on that yet. He's got the labrum issue, and we're getting one more MRI prior. He still had the concussion issue, and so he's been going through that protocol and he's through that. And so the next thing for him would be to have the surgery. And so we're working through the dates and all that kind of stuff for him. Max is in a similar situation where he's not going to be able to finish the year, at this point. And he's taking some personal time, away from the team with his family. And, we're hopeful that he'll be able to recover nicely and get back. Darnell is still kind of fighting that same, hamstring.
Since November,
Yeah, he got his wisdom teeth out over the break. And so that thankfully is going to be fine. But he's kind of been struggling with that a little bit. And then RJ, RJ is a little bit closer to getting back, and Keandre as well. they should both be back for this next game.
You know, when you look back at the non-conference portion of the season, there were a couple of games, both at home, ironically, where you guys were healthier, let's put it that way, and I think it really showed because you handled Drexel very nicely and you handled Coppin State very nicely. RJ was a part of one, if not both of those games, if I'm not mistaken. And so again, I just, you see little drips there that when you guys are almost at full complement, what is possible?
Yeah, no question. And I think, all of our goals are still within reach. I think our guys believe that. And they understand that, we have a very tough conference. And it's going to be really challenging night in and night out because the teams know one another so well. And there's some familiar faces that return for each team. And there's a style, stylistically, teams kind of play a certain way. And so, what we've really been trying to work on is our defense and getting our defense tight. We've had the opportunity now because we've had break, to be able to really work on our offense a little bit more, and so we're hopeful that we'll see some returns there. I think we did the other day. We attacked the zone and the man pretty effectively in that last game that we had. One of the other issues that we had was the competition was really good that we were playing against. When we were at our most injured time, going to Georgetown is not easy. They were playing exceptional ball at the time. They had won 5 in a row or something like that. And then, George Mason as well, obviously off to a 10-1 start, really good team. And we had moments within those games, although the final score didn't warrant it or dictate it, there were moments within that game or both games where we felt like, hey, it's starting to look right again. And that's what we want to hold on to, and we just need to see it more consistently.
Speaking of moments, when you look at the America East as a whole in the non-conference portion, much more balanced this year as opposed to last year and really in the last couple of years. And there were some big moments for America East Conference teams. Hartford went into Big Ten Northwestern and beat them. Of course, Vermont and St. John's, unbelievable. Yeah. So just talk a little bit about the conference as we enter conference play and how you see, not necessarily team by team, but just overall what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think certainly Vermont, is the overwhelming favorite at this point, to win it again. They're the champion until somebody knocks them off. It's going to go through them, in some form or fashion. Stony Brook's played really good ball. They've had a great non-conference and doing really well. Gino's done a great job of kind of getting them going and continuing what Jeff had built there. And I think New Hampshire has done well. I mean, the way they finished the year last year.
Strong.
It's kind of set them up for how they're playing now. And they've added some new pieces to their team as well. So you're right. I mean, there's plenty of teams. Obviously, you mentioned Hartford. Hartford's got a ton of new faces. They had a bunch of seniors last year. They've added some grad transfers in addition to the guys that were returning and didn't get to play a lot last year, but the guys that are playing are making the most of their minutes. And so it's going to be a fun year. Certainly we've got a tough battle against Lowell coming up, and be a good way to start the season.
Yeah, the games with Lowell are always fun. There's no doubt. We've got about a minute left. Just talk a little bit about them and what they have and why the games are always a tough tussle.
Yeah, one of the reasons is because they score the ball so well. I mean, they are one of the most efficient teams offensively in the country year in and year out. Pat does a fabulous job. And, we're going to have to really do a good job of guarding them. I mean, Latete, can get 50 in a game. He has. He's gotten 50 in a game.
Right.
And, so that's a challenge in and of itself. And Noel's a great player. He's a veteran guy. We've had some battles there, with him. Gantz, who's been hurt, is
tough.
Magnificent.
Outside shooter.
He's a great player. And so they're an experienced group, and they're a team that really is efficient on offense. So it's going to take a lot for us to defend them, and we're going to have to play well offensively as well. It's got to be a balanced attack. We can't have one without the other and expect to win.
That is Saturday at 1 o'clock at the Event Center. I know you'll be there. I hope to be there as well. We also want to remind fans 1 week from then, that's the game against Vermont on the 11th. That is also a 1 o'clock game on Saturday, January 11th at the UMBC Event Center. We're going to take a timeout, and when we return, 2 UMBC players, both seniors, will join us. Ricky Council and KJ Jackson will be here when the Ryan Odom UMBC Basketball Report continues right after this. welcome back to the Ryan Odom UMBC Basketball Report. It really is a big pleasure to have these two guys on set with me, both seniors, KJ Jackson and Ricky Council from the men's basketball team. Guys, welcome in. Happy New Year to you both.
Happy New Year to you.
Let's talk some basketball, but before we do that, we also want to mention that both of you have been selected to be UMBC's men's basketball's Grit Ambassadors. Each sport that UMBC fields selects players from their teams, and I just wanted to get a quick comment from you, KJ, on how you feel to be selected with that honor.
It feels good. I'm glad that I was able to just be out there with my guys every day and just doing the right things. But it's always nice to be recognized and appreciated for it. And I think every day it's not something you really think about. It's like trying to win an award, but it's just caring about the guys that you're around and just wanting to be out there and doing the right things on and off the court.
And for you, Ricky, your journey here, and we can talk about that a little bit later,
Right.
but for you to be selected for this award, what does that mean?
It's big. I feel like a couple of guys on our team could have got the award as well and the honor, but it feels good to have it. It just shows that I must be doing the right things on and off the court.
Absolutely. GRIT, by the way, is an acronym which stands for growth, respect, integrity, and teamwork. So, KJ, out of those four elements, which one do you most identify with?
I would say teamwork. For me, it's a pretty big thing. Just being a point guard, you're kind of used to trying to get everybody to do the right things and just be on the same page. And so when we working, whether it's in the weight room or in the classroom or in study hall or on the court, you need your guys, you need your team, and it's always uplifting to have people on your team that has your back no matter what's going on. And so teamwork is a really big quality, and it's a really big thing for me.
Ricky, what about you?
I would have to say respect. My parents taught me to treat everyone like you want to be treated. So I just take that on and off the court. Respect my teammates. I respect my coaches. I respect my teachers. And I try to treat everybody like I want to be treated.
And you both are seniors now. KJ, talk a little bit about the journey from being a freshman to a senior. Both of you were transfers.
Right.
And kind of, young players may look up to you now because you're a senior. And how do you handle that?
It's been an experience over time. Like you said, I transferred in, so I came in not even really knowing everything about Division I basketball, about my teammates, about being in Maryland or anything like that. So it's just taking one day at a time, growing, learning, being able to accept criticism and accept coaching and accept when you do things right. You're going to have ups and downs, and you just got to embrace it and look forward to the next best thing. And I was talking to my mom the other day, and we always talk about with it being New Year's, what's your New Year's resolution, and what do you look forward to in the new year. And it's kind of made me think about it when we talking about me being a senior. It's just every year you look at where you want to be at, and sometimes we lose track of that once we get to where we're at, and we are looking for the next best thing. And being a senior really makes you appreciate the past 4 years, because everybody wants to go back and oh no, I'm a senior now, I want an extra year now. So it makes you appreciate the experiences and the journey.
You've had a journey, and you've been a part of 3 NCAA tournament teams.
Yeah.
Talk about your experience and what it means to you to be a mentor now.
Well, coming here, I had experience at getting to the tournament, and I came to a team that hasn't been yet. And so for me, having to sit out, I was able to, talk to the team and talk to individuals about how to lead and how to win, and what to look for and what to expect when it comes time to get to the tournament. And the first year I was here, I sat out and we made it to the tournament, and it felt really good to see the guys do that. So for me, playing with older guys my freshman year and watching what they did every day, I just tried to bring the same thing when I got here.
I think you've done a good job.
Thank you.
This year's team, every year, every season, the basketball team has a different complexion.
Right.
Players come in, players come out. We've had the highs, the lows, etc. This year has been a really interesting non-conference year in terms of injuries, and not really a lot of clarity as to who's going to be playing and not. And you missed the first 4 games of the year, and then you had a hamstring for 3 or 4 games. Just try to give me the pulse of the team a little bit right now as we enter conference play.
I think guys are really just trying to stay focused and keep their heads. Being injured is not the funnest thing. It's not the best thing. Everybody that's out hates being out. We always talk with guys, try to keep them uplifted, keep their spirits up. And, we always talk about doing the right things to get back to the game and get back to your teammates. But for the guys playing, I think the goal is really just to lock into what we have to do. We always talked about in the preseason about how deep we were going to be potentially, thinking we would have a full healthy roster. But even so, when guys step out, we fully expect for the next guy to step up, and we have just as much confidence in the second guy as the first. And we work hard to install that into everybody and get everybody ready to go, get everybody ready to play, so that when game time comes, we're still able to do the things that we need to do.
Coach Odom said an interesting thing, Ricky, when we had him on just a few moments ago, and said that he learns a lot of you learn a lot about your team in general, but in this particular situation, he's learning about you guys. And one of the things that he said was it's interesting to see that guys are willing to do things that they're not used to doing. Right. Like that's one of the things that he's learning about his team. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about that a little bit and just what that mentality is?
Basically, doing things that you're not used to doing. Like in the beginning of the year, we had some guys out, and I was playing kind of like the 4 position and just moving in different positions, playing different roles. Maybe we need a guy that's usually a shooter or a driver to be a defender, and he has to lock down somebody. Moving LJ or KJ over to the 1 or the 2, and moving RJ to the 2 instead of the 1. We've had to do that all the time this year. Moving me from the 3 to the 2, or back and forth. You saw Brandon bring it up a couple of times last game. Just being ready to do because all of us are versatile.
Right.
That's the difference between any team we've had and any team I've ever played on. We're really versatile, 1 through 5. So just being ready to do whatever coach asks.
Playing alongside point guards, not only is RJ hurt, but Darnell is hurt. Yeah. Keandre missed the game last time out. Right. So you've had to play beside 3 or 4 different guards after you came back from injury. Right. Is that difficult, or how have you handled that?
You always get a feel for the guys that you play with in the year before. Playing with RJ, playing with Ricky, playing with Arkel when he was out there for the first few weeks. It was a little bit easier just because we kind of already had that year of experience. We knew each other. We knew where everybody was going to be at the time. So at first it was it took us a little bit a time for us to gel and just get to know one another out there on the court. But as time goes on, it's basketball, it's still the same sport, and it's the guys that we spend every day with potentially. So it's been a good experience and just learning how to do what and understand who does what best. But as we go on, it's just been getting easier and easier and easier. We're starting to learn more about each other. We're starting to feed off of each other, and I think that's the most key important thing that we can do, especially when you're playing with so many different guys, being able to feed off one another and know, okay, he's going to do this, I'm able to do that, and just know what's the next best thing for the team. So it's been a process, but I think it's going very well.
Final question, Ricky. We got about a minute left. So now you've got to basically, whatever your mental process was for the non-conference year, now you've got to reset.
Right.
Everybody's 0-0. Nobody's missed a shot. Nobody's committed a turnover.
Right.
How do you reset yourself now and get ready for conference play?
That's a mindset. I'm glad that it's starting over as an individual and as a team. We just basically, it's a reset. Go in, there's no past. It's all forward. We're all looking forward. We're not looking back at the 7 and 8. We're all looking at the 0-0 and trying to win every day. Win every day, get better in practice, go out there and try to go 1-0 every time. It's a reset. And this year our goal is to have home court. So we do that by going out with the same mentality, playing as hard as we can, sharing the ball, and defending.
Sounds good. Yeah. Guys, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. KJ Jackson, Ricky Council, seniors. I can't believe it already.
All right.
But yeah, absolutely. Congratulations. Hey, quick note before we go. 2 home games coming up. This Saturday, the 4th against UMass Lowell. That's the conference opener at 1 o'clock. And then 1 week from then is Alumni Day. That's Saturday the 11th. Also a 1 o'clock game. The University of Vermont comes into town for that. For Ricky Council and KJ Jackson, as well as Coach Odom, I'm Gary Stein. Thank you so much for joining us on the Ryan Odom UMBC Basketball Report.